All right. Hey guys. My name is Christian. This is my first video on my Coding Christian channel, which I just created. Um, I'm a software engineer and I am relatively new to the iOS app development space. So I've started creating an iPhone app. So I have a little bit of experience, but still very much learning and a beginner. And I wanted to kind of record some of my journey. So um, I'm going to post some coding videos on this channel. I have an app called Party Push that I'm creating. But today I wanted to start a new project and take you guys through my coding process for a project from start to finish. Because the other one is, currently in development, and I will post videos about that. But today I wanted to start a new app with you guys. So follow along to watch my journey in creating this iOS app. Okay, so I created my AWS account, created an email, all this kind of stuff, got everything set up, a new project in Xcode. Kind of just starting from scratch here. So gonna do multiple sessions. This is the first session. So right now, I just want to explain to you guys what the app idea is, and then I guess we can get started creating like a little architecture plan and plan some things out, hopefully start coding. So my friends and I play this game called Eights. It's like the iMessage extension game in Game Pigeon, and we're really into it, and we play just the three of us, me, Greg, David. And what we have is we have this spreadsheet. We keep track of like the games that we've won, stats for each one of us, that kind of thing, different like longest winning streak, longest losing streak, that kind of thing, just to see like historical data and just have some insights, which is kind of cool. So we have this Google Sheets here. So the way it goes is we play like a round of eights, or like a hand, right? And the first 1 to 10 hands or 10 wins, wins the game. And so we have a historical kind of, not really database, but we have historical data of all the games that we've played. We started February of this year, and now it's June 19th, so 2025. So you can see like David won this one 10 to 7 to 7, 10 6 6. The green indicates games that you won. Gray is just like, hey, you didn't win. And then the red here is if you scored, you won 4 or 3 or less hands, 3 or fewer hands. And so that's called a sombrero. So we have like, if you win, it's called a crown. You lose, it's a sombrero. Your total wins is crowns minus sombreros, all the number of hands and rounds we've won. So kind of just, a bunch of data, organized by month, organized by, user or player. There's some Excel formulas here, like how many times you got to 9 and almost won, but didn't. Longest winning streaks. You have this, these Excel formulas, obviously. Notes here, everything. So it's kind of cool. You can see this stuff. So basically my app idea is to take this spreadsheet that we have and turn it into an iOS app. And so I think it's going to be like, I just want it to be really simple. My goal is to learn a lot more about like crafting a Swift UI, UX UI. And so, I want to like, perfect that. It's not going to be like a really extensive, heavy back end. I don't want to spend much time on like back end resources, whatever. Obviously there will have to be some database. I'm planning to use Dynamo. There'll have to be some data that you pull and network calls and stuff, but I don't want to spend too much time on creating a huge full stack project. And so, I wanted to like display the historical data, obviously the, main scoreboard of like the crowns, sombreros, wins, the interesting stats. And then maybe you have like a drop down that shows advanced stats like monthly crowns, longest winning streak, losing streak. You can expand each, game log to show like interesting notes, right? And so, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I have some ideas, and I guess we can just go through it. So yeah, I guess we can go through architecture, and then features that I want to implement, other goals of the project, and then I guess we'll have to create like a database schema or a way to pull data, or I guess store data. What else? I guess we'll just figure out the UI as we go along. Okay, I mean, I guess again, I'm just kind of jotting stuff down. These are my very, very first thoughts, preliminary thoughts here. So I want to use Dynamo just because my other project uses RDS. Obviously, I'm familiar with SQL, right? Writing SQL queries. I kind of just wanted to use a NoSQL database, and Dynamo's cool. I've used it in the past a little bit at work, and I've never really actually implemented it. It's certainly not in a Swift, iOS app. So I want to use Dynamo for storing data. I think we're gonna have to have. So we're gonna have to have historical game logs, right? We're gonna have to, this is gonna be kind of the engine, the basis of all these stats and everything. And it's gonna have to be tied to a player. So I don't know if we should create players and then not users, but a people object, a person object, player object, and then have these as fields on that object. Or I guess we can create historical logs and then have the person. Let me think this through. The log could be we could have a log where it's the game score. What if we did this? What if we did a row, a record would be David 10 game number, right? So we'd have player name, score, game number, right? Because this is game 1, game 15, etc. And then it would be we'd have a row for David for this, then Greg for this, and then me for this. And that way, when you create something, it would be David 10, game 1. Greg, I think it had we both had 7. Yeah. And then that's me. That's my nickname. Right, so you'd have this kind of thing, and then we'd have some logic based on the game number to find the winner, right? So we need to store. What do we need to store? Obviously, winner who has 10 games first. I'll say crown winner. Check any sombreros. Anyone who got 3 or fewer. And then so the scoreboard needs to have crowns, sombreros, total wins, crowns minus sombreros, games, and then nines. And those are all tied to player, all tied to each player. So we could have something like player.crowns, player.sombreros, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be the main scoreboard. And then monthly crowns will be like the sum. We'll filter or like query Dynamo based on like David and then obviously the date, right? Or the player and the date. Let's call that advanced stats. So let's call this scoreboard, right? And then advanced stats, right? And then we'll call this like per game stats. Crown winner. What the heck? Per game stats, crown winner, sombreros. We'll say not null, and this will be nullable because there has to be a winner, but there doesn't have to be a sombrero. Scoreboard. So these like game logs we're going to take this data and use it to calculate the scoreboard data. So game log data will be used to calculate scoreboard and advanced stat data. And then advanced stats are like monthly crowns, longest winning streak, longest losing streak, and then what else do we have? I think that's it. And then we'll say like notes or like notable events or something. That can also be nullable. Scoreboard, yeah, so all of those are calculated. So let's see. So I guess we could have like we need to have a feature here. I guess we'll say like data plan, and then we'll have database schema, data needed to store, right? So let's see, features, we need to have add new game log, right? Calculate stats, display scoreboard, display, we'll say display scoreboard prominently because that's going to be the main thing, and then display advanced stats and game logs upon expansion / further. I don't know, what do you call that? Like when you have a drop down, like you click to show advanced stats or click to further probing, I don't know, investigation. We'll say upon expansion. Okay, so the main thing's gonna be the scoreboard. We'll have advanced stats like monthly crowns, longest winning streak, losing streak, etc. Anything else we decide to add later. And then the historical game logs, you can scroll through. So yeah, add new game log. We also want to add I know I'm coding this, publicly on the stream, but I only want this to make this for me and my friends. I don't want, random people downloading it and messing up our, our, you know, scoreboard. So, password authentication, which should just be like a view prompting for password. Probably store that in secrets manager, just because I don't want to store in the code. Don't need to create like accounts or users or anything. It's just going to be us three. But we do want to add like a prompt to make sure that, it's us. And then add new game log, calculate stats, probably like a refresh, right? Pull and load new data. Slash make new call. I guess new network call. Database call. And then, so yeah, add a new game log. It'll calculate the stats, display it on the scoreboard. You need to be able to go back and edit like a spreadsheet. Go back and edit old game logs. What else? What would you call it? So like secrets manager for login. Or I'll just say like, yeah, login. Not really a login flow, but. So you log in, add new game log, go back and edit old game logs. It takes those, calculates the stats, displays the scoreboard, refresh. What else can you do with this? Adding a new feature or like changing the color. Do we want to let the user change like the color of the UX UI? Or do we want to just say, hey, this is it, and we design our own? Because right now, you could change the color of this, somewhere or whatever. I don't know. Let's ignore that for now. Okay, so I think we got the features down. I think that would be a good start. Again, we want to keep this like small, easy, just do your job right kind of app. And then we'll iterate upon the UX UI, we'll iterate on the features, et cetera, et cetera. So Dynamo for storing data, Secrets Manager for login, obviously, mobile app in Swift. Don't need push notifications or anything, I don't think. I mean, that'd be cool, but it's, again, I want to keep it simple. I can already tell this is going to be the hardest part, maybe. The database schema and then going back and editing game logs. So Dynamo for our data, Secrets Manager, mobile app. I think that's it. Yeah. So, and then goals. Learn more about crafting a beautiful UX UI in Swift. I really want to focus on doing things the right way in Swift. Yeah, because again, I alluded to it, like I'm creating another app. That's a more complex app, push notifications, complicated database schema, different features, etc. I feel like I kind of rushed the learning process. That was my first app. And it's still in development, but now I'm at the point where there's a lot of tech debt and I'm trying to go back and clean everything up right before I, release it to test flight and, show it off to the world. Make sure it's resilient, that kind of thing. So I'd rather do this right from the start. That's something I'm not really good at. I want to jump in and just start creating, obviously, as you can tell. But I want to make sure that when I start coding, we do things the right way. So, yeah. So let's start with the database schema. How are we going to do this? Let me think on this for a sec. It helps me visualize it to have this up. So this stuff, this scoreboard stuff, that's just going to be, we need to create like a player. I think we need to have two kind of tables. We have like the game log table, and then we have the stats table, right? Or like, maybe not table, but actually, yeah, table. So we'll have like historical game logs and player stats. So game logs need to store game number, 3 scores tied to players, player objects, or yeah. I guess we'll just call this game. That doesn't really need, game and player, kind of 2 object models. Game number, date, right? 3 scores tied to player objects. Note. I guess notes. We'll add note. Notes. And then, game number, date, the 3 scores, notes. I guess we'll obviously have to, switch it up when we, do the code for calculating monthly crowns, right? Because we'll have to, filter by the date. But I don't think we need to store like a month, like game.month, Maybe that would help, but I think we can just filter, by the date. So I don't think we need like .month. Maybe that'll make it easier. I don't know. Longest winning streak, longest losing streak. That's a good one. So those are, going to rely on the longest, like, so for example, if he had, 4 in a row, et cetera, et cetera. I guess. I guess that you're gonna have to look through, like, loop through all the logs for each player. So do like a for each, game in games. Maybe like a filter by player score, and then loop through in order of the date and see, and do a max, find max. Okay, so then this needs to be crowns, sombreros, total wins. Come up with a better name for this category. I guess wins, just wins, I don't know. Monthly crowns. Or could this be a join? Longest winning streak and longest losing streak. Okay. So these are the advanced stats. These are the. And then we need games, 9s. So those are the scoreboard stats and then advanced stats. Those are both on the player object, and then the game has game number, date, 3 scores tied to player objects. Okay. So I guess this could be like David score, Greg score, Christian score. Yeah. Game.David, game.Greg, game. Yeah. Okay. All right. So for the first session, let's do this. Let's create we could start by saying, do the authentication. That'll be a ticket. I guess we can create like little tickets here. Working app only us 3 can use. All right, so backlog. I hate Agile. I'm sorry. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. Oh, shoot. What just happened? Oh, I just opened a new window. Not an unpopular opinion as a dev, but there are some merits. You gotta have a backlog. You gotta do some planning, like we're doing now. Timelines. I'm obviously working on this alone, but you gotta talk to your partners and teammates if you're working with them. That's a retro, I guess. So I think it's a good structure, but they just take it over the top sometimes in corporate America. So backlog. So I guess password view, password setup in secrets manager, password. I guess we'll say create main view. Create password view. Set up password in secrets manager. Add password logic to password view. That's going to be a big one. To pull password from secrets manager into password view. Like the actual call to, the secrets manager to get the thing. And then add password comparison logic to move to main view. So that'll be a little epic here. Login, epic. God, I hate how big these tabs are. Okay, and then we need to have the Dynamo epic, where we are saying create object models in Swift. Integrate DynamoDB packages, or I guess connection into SwiftUI main view. I guess first, before we do the Dynamo stuff, we should create maybe the layout, just a basic layout. And then, make sure it renders, and then, hook it up to Dynamo. So just gonna do like UI main view epic. Again, I'm just doing this this is not formal at all. Right, it's just me writing out some thoughts. So we'll organize them. I'll do that off screen. and stuff. But I'll probably want to have like create skeleton layout for scoreboard, and then we'll say, for advanced stats, and then game logs. Put advanced stats and game logs. Hide them in, what is it called in Swift even? Drop down? Expander? I don't know. Expanding collapsing views. Okay, we'll figure out how to do that later. In collapsible views, expandable / collapsible views. Pause Swift for person and game. Test put item. Test get item. Just make sure we can do those things. And then we'll say, like with decoding to object models. And then we'll have like our calculation epic. And this will be calculate stats for all of this. I guess we could do like scoreboard stats, advanced stats, and then game. Calculate stats for. We'll just, we'll do it. We'll do it one by one. We'll just break it up. We'll break it up really easy. Right, we'll do it. Well, I guess we can combine these. Because that's going to be based on the game log, right? Game log, you add a crown, you add a sombrero, you recalculate the total wins. This is just subtraction. Games and nines. I guess we could do it all together. Yeah. For scoreboard stats, and then calculate stats for advanced stats. Okay. And then I guess this should be broken up because these are going to be hard. Monthly stats from monthly crowns. Stats for longest streaks. Winning streak and losing streak is just the same, just obviously different values to filter on. Calculate scoreboard stats, calculate monthly crowns, longest streaks, right? And then we'll display those. I guess we'll say test output item for game well, I mean, test update for player stats. I guess put item for player. Is DynamoDB upsert like an update? Does DynamoDB put item upsert update item? So there's put item and update item. Okay, that's good to know. Update is a preferred method for upserting Dynamo because it has both creation and updates in a single operation. Okay, so we're gonna want update item. Okay, good to know. First architectural decision. Test update item. And test update item for player. Ooh, I kind of like that font. Robot mono. No, we want the scenario. It'll be boring. Use Arial. So test update item for those. For game log and then player. Test get item with decoding to game. And then decoding to player. So we can get those from the database and update them. Then we want to have pull down to refresh, recalculate, pull from Dynamo again, and recalculate. I think we're gonna have like when you pull from Dynamo, like it's one big thing. I don't like doing. We'll break it down into functions, right? But we're gonna calculate the stats every time you pull from Dynamo. We'll have one class that says, hey, pull and calculate. So the refresh should do both of those things, I think. Oh, we need to do edit. So we need to do add game log view. I guess we'll say add game view. Create add game view. Skeleton layout. Add game view. This should be a sheet, right, in main view, right? So you have a little plus button, add a new game. And then we'll have, I don't know if we should have like for editing a game. We'll say, for edit game view. Okay. And then polish, all of these. Polish scoreboard layout. So those are done. So we have to create the skeleton, polish it, pull down to refresh from Dynamo, hide them in collapsible views, right? And then we'll say wire up add game view to write to Dynamo. Same thing with edit, right? Edit game view. What should be the same thing, just, update item. You'll need to specify, obviously, the game number. I guess game number might be the primary key. That actually is a good insight. So I think, yeah, game number will be the primary key. Okay, yeah. Wire up, edit game view. And then, so what else can you do here? You can add, edit, right? Well, this will be the main thing. Oh, shoot. What did I just do? Oh, no. What did I do? Okay. And then, yeah. I think that's kind of it. And then obviously, test. I guess we can create like testing, right? Happy path. I don't know if we should do, yeah. Add game log. Add a new game log. Edit an existing game log. Refresh and pull from Dynamo. So these are all happy path, right? I guess it would be login with password. That can be 1, 2. Add a new game log. This kind of will be just in the code, but we can test it too. Add an existing game log. I don't think there's much else. We're gonna need to add everything here. Maybe add so the last thing, right? The last thing is we came up with a special rule so that games in the 80s, like this is game 80, 81, etc. They're all played to 8. And so if our logic is counting wins as whoever got to 10 first, then these are obviously going to be problems. So maybe add a target score in here, 8 versus 10. So that it works that into the calculation for the scoreboard stuff. And also game 88 is worth double, so we need to, add that to the calculation logic. So this would be sad, wrong, no target score provided, and then for all data, right? Because, I guess I could write it out, no David score provided. I don't know. We'll just say empty data provided for add game view. And then same thing for edit game view. This is just going to be decoding, I think, game log. obviously sad path, something went wrong with update item. Right, so if you didn't provide enough data, it shouldn't even call, it should just check that locally in the, the view. But if you somehow get past it, right, we're gonna, put a blocker on you and say you can't make this call without the requisite data. Something wrong with update item. I guess this would be like, AKA, something went wrong with get item. I do want to do actual unit tests though, and QA. Just because I've never written a unit test in Swift, my other project doesn't have it. I just figured it'd be better to go quicker. Another mistake. But yeah, I want to do unit testing as well. That'll be towards the end. Okay, create main view, create password view. I guess this would be skeleton, right, as well. Set a password in secrets manager, add password logic. I guess that's not gonna be that difficult. Yeah, domain view. This might mean window, I don't know. Window scene, etc. Research how to do. I guess it could be overlay. An overlay. And then skeleton layout for all of these things. I guess these both should be sheets. Hide them in collapsible, pull down to refresh, polish scoreboard. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. Really simple. Knock on wood. Hopefully it's, a simple idea and simple to code, not just, we think it's gonna be easy. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, that's kind of my plan. I guess next time we can kind of get started with coding. This was kind of just like a planning, start kind of thing. But I'm excited. I think it's gonna be really cool. So yeah, follow along. I'll post, all the videos on, I'll stream them when I'm coding them and then post them on my YouTube channel, Coding Christian. This is me, Coding Christian. So yeah, thanks for following along, and we'll get into coding next time.